Chanika Dilhani. Chanika Dilhani is a psychology graduate from the University of Peradeniya and holds a master's degree in social work from the National Institute of Social Development, completed in 2022. She currently serves as a probationary lecturer in the Department of Psychology and Counseling at the Open University of Sri Lanka. Previously, she held positions as a temporary lecturer at both the University of Peradeniya and the Open University. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, all of you. During the COVID-19 pandemic period, there are a number of intimate partner violence cases have been increased throughout the world, in Sri Lanka, Serena as well. Many research have been done to identify the prevalence rate and the attitudes regarding gender-based violence, but very less amount of research articles and research concern about the risk factors as well as the protective factors. So my research attempts to understand what are the protective factors that can have the ability to safeguard intimate partner violence against their husbands among married women in Sri Lanka. Actually, it's a case study in Kalutara district. So I'm Chanika Dilhani from the Department of Psychology and Counseling. So the basic insight provided by Professor Indralda Silva, the keynote speaker of the session. As I described earlier, many research have been focused on the risk factors as well as to discuss the ratio and the prevalence rate and so on. So moved from this demographic as well as the prevalent factor, this research is a qualitative study actually, but in depth try to understand what are the protective factors that enhance and safeguard married women from intimate partner violence. So my main objectives were to describe about the protective factors that safeguard married women not only within the COVID-19 pandemic period but also pre-COVID pandemic era. As well as I want to just check whether and analyze what are the factors that remained effective both within the COVID-19 pandemic period as well as the pre-pandemic era. What are the effective factors that remain both eras? As well as finally, I want to just split them out into different domains. Domains in here means I just take the theoretical from the Bronfenbrenner ecological framework. So intimate partner violence is actually complex scenario which includes number of factors, not only personal factors, not only interpersonal factors, but it may includes number of community related factors, social factors, policy factors and so on. So it's a very complex process. I just want to check and I just want to sort these factors into this different level. So it, as I mentioned earlier, it was a qualitative research. And at the very initial level, I conducted several key informant interviews to have a very good insight regarding this topic. And it contains a senior lecturer in psychology, and she is a good researcher in intimate partner violence, and medical practitioner at the Mitrupriyasa, and the inspector of child and women bureau, the counseling officers, as well as the women development officer, and the two public health midwives who are working in the community level. And they have the good insight regarding what are the community-based practices in Sri Lankan community. The sampling method is a convenient sampling. As I mentioned earlier, this study is done within the Kalutara district context. This study is actually done within the COVID-19 pandemic period. So the convenient sampling, since it's a qualitative study as well, the convenient sampling facilitated to get in-depth data. The age category is 18 to 55 age category, and married women, the sample consists with the married women who successfully mitigate intimate partner violence in typical times, including the COVID-19 pandemic period. And the analysis done by the thematic analysis. This is the output of the thematic analysis. I could find out and evaluate main three themes: personal and economic well-being, and social skill competency, and finally is constructive communication strategies. So each and every themes, the very first one, personal and economic well-being, it consists with subcodes including positive development experiences, including the childhood positive experiences, and economic stability, having very good sound economic source in the family, both male partner and the female partner, and the higher education level. Under the social skill competency, I could found different sub-themes like problem solving skills and how the adaptability between couples, and cooperation, how the boundaries can be set and how it will be effectively impact on as a protective factors. For example, clearly setting boundaries between between work and home settings, as well as the social life and the family life as well. So the final one is the constructive communication strategies. So under that, reciprocal communication and very constructive dialogue between couples, and the empathy as well as the openness. When I'm looking forward toward the conclusion, so as I mentioned earlier, under these three themes, there are a number of protective factors can be identified as to safeguard females their competency to face intimate partner violence. And again is, I have observed that economic stability, having a permanent source of income, actually social skill competency, constructive communication skills were remained effective not only within the COVID-19 pandemic period, but also before the pandemic period. And the ability, cooperation and empathy were significant protective factors against intimate partner violence and strong predictor for marital well-being as well. Constructive communication strategies including looking at the occasional critical remarks, forgiving hurtful behavior, avoiding expressions of blame, hostility and contempt strengthened their role during the lockdown period. So those factors facilitate their marital well-being while working them as a protective factors. And finally, the women's higher educational level and economic stability actually act as a protective factors, but their effectiveness is influenced by the relative economic positions of husband and their educational level. So my take-home assignment is, so we need to identify very long-term resilience factors rather than addressing the scenario and the issues at the moment itself, and enhance social and communication skills. So rather than just identify individual factors, it's always better to identify the relationship factors as well. And the next one is develop holistic intimate partner violence preventive programs and support financial stability, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic period. There are a number of issues related to the economic stability within many families that will lead to the intimate partner violence. So supportive financial stability as a precautions of any emergency would be actually ideal. Final one is the crisis preparedness and response. Those are my take-home assignments from this research. Thank you.